Beautiful of Harmony, how are you? Good to see your beautiful faces here. Thank you all for being here this morning. Thank you to all of you who are watching online on Facebook or who may be watching us later on our website or on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Reverend Dr. Pjae Stanley, and we are Harmony Spiritual Center. We're a New Thought Spiritual Center, and what we do here is that we teach principles that we can live by. We learn how to live using these principles, living the best life that we possibly can. We practice the concepts. I leave you with action steps so we can go out in the world and practice what we're talking about. So it's not just a dead talk. It's a discussion about what we can actually walk out and do to have the best life that we possibly can. And we do that because we're choosing to grow and to serve. We're choosing to grow and to serve. That's who we are. What we believe, what we know for sure, is that God is source, substance, and supply. That means it doesn't matter what the world is looking like, God is always with you. It has to be, because we are individualized expressions of that one spirit, that one love. It is within us. And so everything we need is available as close as our breath, as close as our heart. That is where God is. That is where God is, because it is us, individualized. So thank you so much for being here. That's what we do. Last week I talked about life on purpose. I'm always talking about life on purpose, because life is going to do what life does. It just is. But it's like getting in your car driving. I mean, you're not going to take your hands off the wheels, right? Because otherwise, where are you going to end up? So for life, we can do the same thing. We get to put our hands on the wheels of our life and decide who we want to be and how we want to show up and what we want to be remembered for. So we talked about that and about the 3 C's, courage of convictions, the character, and your competence, meaning lifelong learning, which is why we are constantly learning. And when we apply things, we go, oh, aha, that's how it worked in this situation. Aha, worked a little bit differently over here. Aha. And we're constantly having aha moments, about how life works. And one thing we know for sure is that all we can do is all we can do. But all we can do is enough. It's enough. It always is. So we need to worry about that. But today's talk, I want to talk about what we remember. What we remember. And what the past teaches us. What it can teach us. It's a good thing to remember the past and what it can teach us. So what I want to talk about, and the point of my talk today, is to discover what our experiences are about. What are they about? What are they here to teach us? How can they help? And the only way to know that is to look at those experiences, to excavate what they mean, why we had that experience, what did we learn from that experience, remember what that is, and incorporate the learning into our lives. That's what an experience is, because otherwise it's just a horrible experience or a wonderful experience, but we don't really know what we can do with that, what it's teaching us. So I want us to think about what we remember and what the past teaches us. So I want to talk about the COVID experience. The COVID, we were kind of locked in, and not all of us with people we wanted to be around. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to keep it real. And so I went to stay with my sister, as you all know, because she's that way. She's a caretaker, and she said, "Nope, you're not over there by yourself. You're coming over here, staying in the family home, and we're going to all be together." Okay, great. So in the midst of all that, you know how it is when you're around family. It's a lot of love, a lot of aggravation, a lot of angry moments, frustrations, misunderstandings, fear, just staying with the family. It was crowded, didn't have my own quiet space, always someone there. In your face, saying something, having an opinion about your life. And to top it all off, there was a first grader in our mix. With all the adults there who had their own opinions, we had a first grader, and you know her opinions. She had a lot of them, And we were all trying to, for the very first time, teach because we had to teach from home. We had to learn how to, many of us already knew, but how, and she didn't really know how, and the teachers were learning. How do we teach online? How do we teach the parents how to teach? What's important? How do we help them to manage the kids at home and manage a kid that no longer now has her peers to be around, right? She only has all these old people. And she always wants to get on the TV and watch, what's going on YouTube or whatever. So dragging her back to her studies, that was a huge challenge. It was a huge challenge. So that's what I knew inside the experience. Those things were happening. But what do I know and what do I remember and what do we learn from those experiences? She was my great niece. The first grader was my great niece. She's now in the 4th grade. And when I look back on that experience, and she talks about it now, hi babies. When we look back on it now, it was the best time of our lives. It was a time that we got to know each other, that I got to be around her, and she talks about this. At the time, it's so interesting, because at the time I was doing it, this is how I was raised, and I don't know if you were raised this way, but if you said a word like, I don't know what the word was, but you were using it in the wrong context, your parents would say, oh, that's not actually how you use the word. Go ahead and look it up, and then come back and let me know how we would use that. And so I would say things like that to her. That's not how you actually use that word. This is how the word goes. Let's look it up. And well, that's not what I'm about arguing. But now she talks about it, and so do her parents, that is what she loves about being around me, is that I talk with her like she is an adult. I don't talk to her like she's an adult. I talk to her like she has a mind, right? Like she can think. And I asked her. She said something to me about, the other day I was taking her to school. You guys know that my brother-in-law was in the hospital, so I was over there helping. And so she and I were together for the day, and I would take her to school. And we had these great conversations on the way to school. And she was telling me about her best friend, and how her best friend had come to her and said that these other people were talking about her. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, how did you feel about your best friend telling you that? And she goes, what do you mean? I said, I don't know. I'm just asking you. How'd you feel about that? How'd you feel about it? She goes, well, I was thinking, how come she didn't stand up for me? And I said, yeah, that's a point. That's a point. Did she? She didn't say she did. Right. So now you get an opportunity to think about what it is you want in a friend. Is she your best friend just by default? Or is she actually your best friend? How do you know? And so this is the conversation I had in 5-10 minutes as I'm taking a fourth grader to school. And that's what she wants to do around me. And that came from that aggravating time we had during COVID. Okay? So we get to look back on the experiences. Yes, going through things, they're not necessarily where you want to be. But I believe if we are all individualized expressions, and we are, then everything we go through is a learning opportunity. It's something there for us on the road to where you are going. I look back at what she and I were doing together, and I remember that my aunt, it was actually my great aunt, Sally, she always showed up. We traveled a lot because we were in the military. She always showed up wherever we were if we were in the U.S. She always showed up. And I had great times with her. She introduced me to jazz and dressing, and she had these beautiful clothes and jewelry. She showed me how to dress up. And I now have that experience with my young niece. So it's like a family thing that I didn't know that. It's so beautiful just to look back on your life and say, what's this about? And not just what this is about. What's this about with the expectation of knowing that there's a reason, and you're going to discover what that is. There's a learning, there's something for you, even if it's difficult, even if it's sad. Because it rains on the just and the unjust, right? That means this too shall pass, means the good things pass and the negative things pass. And by the way, calling something good or bad is what makes it good or bad. So really, I want us to get away from calling things good or bad. It's just an experience. It just is what it is. And when we ask ourselves what's here for us, that's where we grow. That's where we discover our humanity, our God self, and what is available for us. So just looking about what happens, what prevailed through all that time, even during the time. What prevails is what you value. Love, compassion for each other, right? Understanding. It's important, caring about each other. Even through the aggravating times, even through the times when we're kind of bumping heads, we've got 4 adults in a house, all right, trying to make decisions. Even through all of that, when you remember love, compassion, caring for one another, in the midst of it, remember that. Hopefully you won't do anything too damaging. And you'll have the ability, and even if you do, it's fine, because you can come back and apologize. I was talking with Allie this morning about our goal, our values and things like that, and even now as I'm constantly excavating my experiences and saying, what's my role in it, in the experience, and what's mine to do? Were there hurt feelings? Was there possible hurt feelings? That I know at the time there were hurt feelings, but my feelings were hurt too, and so sometimes in the middle of that, you can't say what's yours to say because you're hurt too. But from a distance, from the distance of time, you can look back on something and say, you know what? I did hurt their feelings, regardless of what was happening with me. I did hurt their feelings. It's never too late to go back and say, I love you, and I apologize. I know at the time I wasn't there, but I'm here now. I remember it, and I know I hurt you, and I'm so sorry. That was not my intention. It did happen, and I apologize. That, it speaks volumes to people. Speaks volumes to people. We are in the holiday season. And this is a time, there's so much going on. It's very emotional. Very emotional. We have loved ones that are no longer here. We have loved ones that we may not get along with. We have loved ones that we do get along with. We have people that are out there. And there's this whole atmosphere of expectations. Everybody's shopping. We got to get stuff for people. And the reason why they're doing it is because they love people and they want to show up for people. I was out at Costco, which never do during the holidays, by the way. Just FYI. But anyway, it was a lovely experience. Everybody was helpful. Everybody was saying, hi, how you doing? Getting out of their way, even though it was crowded. Everyone that I ran into, I can't say everyone, because everyone that I ran into was very helpful. I was trying to get some help because I couldn't find what I was looking for. And when you go back to that help desk back there, it's not really a help desk, but whatever that desk is back there, I call it the help desk, because that's where I go ask for help. And I couldn't figure out, like, there was no one line. Like, it was all these different people that were helping employees, and I didn't know where to get in line. And so I was like, I don't want to get into a fight over getting in front of people in the line. So I'm always looking, who are you? Is this your spot? Whatever. And and oh no, hey, no, it's fine, no problem. We got plenty. I'm just here. Go ahead and get in front of me. It's okay. It's all good. And some other people come. Oh yeah, no, it's okay. Right here. Here's where we're going. Everybody's helping everybody else at that point, because this is what happens during the holidays. Everybody's feeling that and wanting to be love and compassion and be what we believe the holidays are about. These holidays, anyway. That's what we do. So that's what I just want you to remember and to think about. Looking over our experiences. What is in there for us? What is it that I need to know? What is it that I need to do even now? Never too late to do that. The other thing I want to talk about, the same thing about looking over your memories. One was look over your memories and look over your experiences just to remember and see what's there for you. What's the learning? To see how you've grown from the experience to now. But the other reason to look at your experiences is to try to think about who you want to be. How do you want to be remembered? How do you want to be remembered? Many of my loved ones are no longer here. Some of you knew some of my loved ones that have gone on. And you have great things to say about them, and I love that. I love that I can talk with you about someone I loved, and you loved them too. You cared for them. So is that what's going to be said about me when I leave? Are other people going to be talking and say, oh, yeah, she was you didn't want her. Ooh, stay away. Right? What is it that you want people to say about you? I have a friend, and I talk about him all the time. When I go to California in a couple of weeks, he'll be out there. He lives in Thailand. Him and his family live in Thailand. They'll be coming over, going out to California, and we're going to meet up with my family and just have some Christmas time together. But he's always, I've talked with him about it because he's such a great person. And the first time I met him was when I lived over in Thailand, and he came to see me because I had a band and I was singing, and he loves music. He's an old hippie, and he just loves music. He went to Thailand back in the 70s to talk about and to help them with understanding how to keep their country recycling and not throwing trash in the sea and messing up the coral, and taking their resources like bamboo and using that to build things, all kinds of stuff. He's been there for a long time. He's been very generous, and every year during the tsunami in 2004, he helped rebuild schools. Every year I go back to help with them, and they're raising, he's a Rotarian, they raise money for the children on the islands of Phuket, and every year I go back and help them with that. I was reading a book, I have to write it down because I can't remember what it was called, but it was called, The Purpose of Your Life by Carol Adrian. And I read that book because my sister was in Emerson Institute, and she was going to graduate, get her bachelor's, and that was one of the classes we were taking, and one of the books that she needed to read. So we're reading the books, and we're really having a wonderful time together and all that, but as I'm reading the book, I see his name in the book, O.B. Wessel. I'm thinking, how many O.B. Wessels can there be? So yeah. So I texted him, and I said, Obi, I was reading this book, and Adrian Carroll was mentioned a guy named Obi. Is that you? And he said, oh, yeah. Yeah, Adrian and I, we were friends when we lived in San Francisco, and her wife my wife and she were friends, and blah, blah, blah. In the book, she wrote in the book about how much he helped her when she was moving from wherever she was moving over to San Francisco. That's what she wrote. That's the memory that I have of this gentleman. That's the memory she has, that she wrote about him in her book, that so many people now have his name on their lips because of what she wrote. What are people going to be writing about you? That's how we want to look at it. I know many of you in this room are lovely caregivers. Give your heart to everything. Give your heart to everything. I know what I'll be saying about many of you. I miss you. I love you. You were generous. You were kind. That's all. That's what I want for people to say about me. What do you want people to say about you? And as you look over your experiences, are you behaving in such a way that that is what's going to be said by you, about you, what you want to be said? Are you behaving in that way? Because sometimes, like I said, I have things to go back and apologize for. I don't have to. I want to. I want to. I want to clean up as much hurt as I possibly can, as I'm aware of. First of all, not hurt to begin with. But if I have hurt someone unintentionally, or it's not intentional, I don't hurt people intentionally, unintentionally, to apologize for that. Take my feelings out of it in terms of whatever I was feeling during the time, and apologize for my role in it. Doesn't matter. I still had a role in it, right? That's how I want to be remembered for myself. Whether people say it or not, this is what I tried to do. This is who I tried to be. Who are you? Who are you trying to be? How do you want to be remembered? Here's what I know for sure. We're all going to be shining examples or horrible warnings. That's the truth of it. That's what we're going to be. I would really rather be a shining example. Remember how you want to be remembered. The actions that we take in the moment, the actions that we take in a moment, create a lifetime memory. The actions we take in the moment create a lifetime memory. That's why it's important that we understand how we want to be in every moment. And when we talk about, back to the values again, when we talk about how we want to show up, and we're doing the best that we can to show up that way, then the memories that we have, the life that we're creating, is the one that we want. Is the one that we want. We want to show up in that way. So, yeah, okay, I'm going to go ahead and tell you the story, because it's not a story, just my part in it, what I'm going to be apologizing for. And the reason why I remember this is because when I was younger, when I was traveling with my mom, we were over in Germany back in, I think 67, I think it was what? Could have been later, 66, something like that. And so, as you can imagine, there were no products for black people's hair, none. And so, my hair was long, it was thick, my mom kept it braided. And a lady moved in to where we were living, and she was black, and she had a black daughter who had beautiful hair like mine. And so she was using a permanent on her hair. Mom said, how do you keep it in her hair? Because there's no products here. And she said, I'm using this permanent. And so you can do the same thing. All right. So Mom put this permanent on my hair. But Mom had never done it before, and she didn't really know how it worked. And so it was on my hair so long, it was burning my scalp. And I said to Mom, I said, Mom, it's actually burning. It's actually burning my hair. She goes, oh, stop being a baby. which I'm never a baby. So, but so anyway, when she finally rinsed it out of my hair and stuff, my hair, not immediately, but just fell out, just like scalp burns and whatnot on my hair. My mother never apologized for that, for saying stop being a baby, the fact that she didn't believe me when I tried to tell her what was going on. And I understand why she couldn't, because she realized she did something that affected me, and she didn't want for that to have happened. So it was hard for her to come back and say, I was wrong, and I'm so sorry. But I knew that she was. Now, what I have to apologize for, it's not about my mom, this is about my daughter. My daughter and I were traveling to Colorado when my son was graduating from high school, because he lived with his dad, and we lived in California. She couldn't afford to go. My mom wanted to go. So I thought, all right, I have the money to fly, but I'm going to go ahead and drive, because I had a van. Let's get everybody in the car, and we'll just drive. And we'll drive to see my son graduate. So we're driving, and we're in wherever we are, going, I don't know, halfway there. And my daughter looks over to me, and she says, you know, Mom, and you guys have met my daughter, Michelle. Mom, sometimes I don't know if you love me or not. Exactly. First of all, my eyes got big, my heart fell. And I just said, and then I was angry. And I said, what in the world are you talking about? Why do you think we're in this van right now? Why do you think we're in this van? That doesn't matter why we're in the van. That doesn't matter what I was doing. What mattered was how she was feeling. And when I go to see her this Christmas, I'm going to let her know about that. I'm going to talk to her about that trip and how I did not acknowledge what she was feeling and apologize for that, because that's the right thing to do. To let her know I remember, because I still remember what happened to me and my mom. My daughter still remembers what I said to her. She still remembers. And I'm going to talk to her about it and several other things and ask her to bring up whatever else, because that's what you do when you love somebody. And when you have grown enough to know what love looks like. And that wasn't about me. Yes, that happened, but it also happened to her. And I need to acknowledge what happened. That's what I want to do. That's all I'm saying. That's what I want to do. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? How do you want to live? We get to choose. That's what choice looks like. So what is it we remember? Here's the action steps that I want to give you guys going forward this week. Be in this moment right now, because this is where life happens. Sometimes we got an autopilot and we're not actually present and aware of what's going on, but try to be there. If I had been with my daughter then I probably wouldn't have said what I said. I was somewhere, I jumped to my own feelings in someplace else, all the things I'd done for her, and all of that. I wasn't in the moment. So be in the moment as much as you can. Reflect on what happens in your experiences. Did you show up as you? That's all. And you don't have to go back, and you don't have to do what I'm doing. This is my journey. But just reflect, and if you did show up, great. And if you didn't, how would you show up next time? How do you want to show up next time? Choices we get to make. And number 3, just remember who you are, because remembering is what life is about. Remembering is what life is about. That's what we're going to have, our memories. We're going to be sitting on the porch rocking, hopefully sometime way out. But we're going to have some great memories when we do, right? So life happens in the moment. What life is about is what we remember upon reflection. Upon reflection. Here's how I said I showed up. How did I actually show up? We only know that upon reflection. So just reflect. Be in the moment while life is happening. Try to remember that's important. And I'm going to leave you with this final quote from Robert Rosen. He's a poet. Yeah, I'm just not really worried anything. I'm like, what is happening? How about I stand like this? No moving. Self-reflection entails asking yourself questions about your values, assessing your strengths and your foibles, thinking about your perceptions and interactions with others, and imagining where you want to take your life in the future. And so it is. Namaste.